Today's guest is an award-winning actor, screenwriter, and comedian. He's written a great book called Of Moose and Men. Torry Martin and I will be talking about our projects and our love for Christian media. Here today on Babbie's House. Stay tuned. It's coming to you right now.
Babbie's house, Babbie's house. Every day is filled with possibility. At Babbie's house, Babbie's house. Everybody is family. Welcome to Babbie's house.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to Babbie's House. I'm your host, Babbie Mason, and welcome to the show. I'm so glad you've joined me today. My very special guest is Torry Martin, and he is a hilarious comedian. He's an author, a producer of Christian film, the author of a book called Of Moose and Men. Does that give you any indication of how quick-witted he is, how funny he is? He's a great friend, a longtime friend. We have a lot of territory to cover, and you're going to meet Torry Martin in just a little bit. But as always, I love to kick off the show with one of my favorite songs, and this one I'll sing for you today. I wish I wrote it. I wasn't listening that day, but still, it's a great song that lifts up praise to Jesus.
Lord, you are good and your mercy endureth forever. Lord, you are good and your mercy endureth forever. People from every nation and tongue, from generation to generation, we worship you. Hallelujah, hallelujah, we worship you for who you are. We worship you. Hallelujah, hallelujah, we worship you for who you are. You are good, yes. You are good, Jesus.
Come on, we're going to sing it again. Lord, you are good.
Lord, you are good and your mercy endureth forever. Lord, you are good and your mercy endureth forever. People from every nation and tongue, from generation to generation, we worship you. Hallelujah, hallelujah, we worship you for who you are. We worship you. Hallelujah, hallelujah, we worship you for who you are. You are good, yeah. My God is good. My God is good. My God is good. My God is good. One more time. You are good. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. So good, yeah. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You are good all the time, all the time. You are good. You are good all the time,
welcome back to Babbie's house. I'd like to introduce you to a very dear friend, a longtime friend who is a writer. He is an author of a book called Of Moose and Men, Lost and Found in Alaska. He is a comedian, he's a movie producer, he's a screenwriter. He loves media and is involved in a lot of different areas in media. I want you to meet my good friend, Torry Martin. Torry, it's good to see you, my friend.
Thank you. It's good to be seen.
I haven't seen you in forever, and I'm telling you, the moment you walked into that room at that conference that we were at the ASA conference, Advanced Writers and Speakers Association, back a few months ago, my heart just took a flip, and because it was just so good to see you. Wow. Torry and you and I go way back to the 80s. To the Christian Artist Music Seminar in the Rockies when we were, you know, just getting our feet wet as singers and writers and actors and performers, and they had this competition out there, and with fear and trembling, you and I stood before a panel of adjudicators and sung and wrote and acted our hearts out, and the Lord just kind of smiled on us and gave us a little stamp of approval with the industry, and now we are, you know, doing our thing and loving it. And so I want you to catch us up. You know, tell us what Torry Martin is doing these days. I know you're involved in film and media, so let's start there. You're a screenwriter, so talk to us about what you do.
Well, I write for Adventures in Odyssey, produced by Focus on the Family.
Is that right? We have loved Adventures in Odyssey forever.
They've been on the air for over 30 years now.
Yeah, ever since my kids were little. I mean, that was our thing every day on Christian radio, was stopping to listen to Adventures in Odyssey.
Yeah, I love it. I created the character of Wooten Bassett for the program, who's actually based on me. And I also write for Clubhouse magazine for Focus on the Family, and I created a new character named Torry. The name just came to me one day. Torry Mori.
Oh,
and
how
she's
cool.
a little Japanese girl who just moved into Odyssey. Writing screenplays. My first feature film that I produced, Heaven Bound, starring Nancy Stafford from Matlock and Michael Joyner, who's a well-known Christian comedian, Danny Vinson, Victoria Jackson, is coming out next month.
Wow.
So excited about that. And I was just at the premiere for The Matchbreaker in Los Angeles 2 weeks ago.
That's so cool.
It's a mainstream romantic comedy that stars Olin Rogers and Christina Grimmie, who was the singer who, you know, from The Voice, who was shot 4 months ago. I don't know if you remember that, that story.
I do remember that.
Horrible, 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 so sad. But she was our lead actress, and she's a delight, and we're celebrating her life and her faith.
And her accomplishments. You know, we oftentimes will give the people who are in front of the camera, you know, a lot of applause and the awards. But today we applaud the people behind the camera and those people who write the scripts and who write the screenplays and who produce and direct. And you're one of those people. And I want to say thank you for creating such wonderful products and such wonderful entertainment for our families and for our kids.
Thank you, Babbie.
That means a great deal.
Thank you. Well, I work with some really talented people. Marshall Younger is my co-writer on these films. Also write on Adventures in Odyssey with him. And Doug Peterson, who's written over 50 VeggieTale books and some best-selling books of his own, is my co-author on Of Moose and Men. So I work with some talented people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, talk to me about Of Moose and Men. What a great title.
Okay.
Of Moose and Men. I love that title.
You know, it's basically the whole story
I heard you tell your story at the conference.
Funny stories about my life in Alaska, which led up to Christian Artists in there. I talk about that and the competition, and you know, bringing a reindeer in my house because I thought it was cold. A moose getting his antlers stuck in my window, spraying the pepper spray on a bear, working for Alaska State Parks and making moose dropping jewelry as a living, which is what I was doing when I first met you and I came to Christian Artists.
Wow. How'd you end up way up in Alaska?
You know, it's just my parents went on a gold mining trip up there. They're gold miners, and they said, we think that you need to take a break from Los Angeles. I was performing in comedy venues, and get back to your roots. Go back to your roots. So we think you'd like Alaska. I went up there with my best friend, and I fell in love with Alaska.
It's gorgeous.
It's gorgeous.
It's God's country.
It is.
I say that when God made Alaska, he was showing off.
You know, I don't think it's hard not to believe in God and live in Alaska, because everywhere you go, you look, you're like, this could not have just happened.
Yeah, it's so majestic.
Yeah.
Everything in Alaska is huge. The mountains are huge. The birds are huge. The fish are huge.
Even the people are huge, but really they're just padded. They're skinny, but they're insulated. Yeah.
I get to go to Alaska every year for about the last 20 years.
Doing what?
On the Charles Stanley Bible Study Cruise.
I want to go on that.
You have to go on that.
I do
It is
Christian
beautiful.
comedy about Alaska. I talked to Charles Stanley. It's all about my stories in Alaska at NRB and mentioned it to him, but I think I was talking in his weak ear.
Well, Alaska needs you. That cruise needs you because Alaska is so beautiful. I've taken that trip maybe over 20 times and it never, ever gets old.
Do you actually get off the cruise boat and go?
We go to Juneau. We go to Sitka.
Wow.
We see the glaciers, Mendenhall glaciers.
How many times have you done that?
Maybe about 22 or 23 times.
My goodness. I definitely want to do that, especially with this book about Alaska.
Yes, absolutely.
Be fun.
That would be a cool
Yeah,
inside track to hear you tell stories about Alaska. So what are you working on right now?
The sequel to that book, and these films coming out. You know, I acted in The Matchbreaker 2, I acted in Heaven Bound. I just did a movie with Dallas Jenkins called The Resurrection of Gavin Stone that comes out in January, and I got to act in a scene opposite.
Now you're acting in it?
Yeah, acting is my main thing. Writing is my second one. And I shared a scene with Angela Johnson from Mad TV, and Brett, I always blank out on his last name, but he's on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and directed by Dallas Jenkins, who's Jerry Jenkins, you know, Left Behind series, his son.
Is that right?
Yeah, and he's amazing. I'm really excited about that one.
Cool.
So 3 films.
I'll bet you there are people who are watching who want to get into acting. How do they start?
Well, you know, first you got to get an 8x10 a resume, but you have to have a little bit of experience, and start acting. You know, community theater. Start out in community theater. Go into an agent audition, see if they're interested in representing you and maybe getting your name out there. I just did I've got 5 agents now. I just did an audition for a CBS show day before yesterday, which was fun. But agents are always looking for new talent.
Wow, just day before yesterday. You stay just so busy. I mean, you have so many plates.
It's the advantage of being single and having chronic ADHD. I can do a lot of things.
Yeah, you can do a lot
that other people probably
a lot of things
can't.
with a little help from your friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, cool. Well, we're going to come back in just a little bit, and we're going to talk more about your love for media. There's so much going on. And media has just exploded, not with just TV, but online. And online media is just as powerful as digital
Even
TV.
more so. Yeah.
Is that right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's cool. Well, we'll talk more about that when we come back after this break. So happy to have you on today, Torry.
I'm happy to be here.
And so good to see you again, my friend. We'll catch up on some more in just a little bit. My good friends, we're going to come right back after this break and talk more with Torry Martin here on Babbie's House. Stay tuned, because after this break, Babbie's House is coming to you right after this with more. Stick around. Welcome back to the show. I'm talking today with Torry Martin, who is the author of Moose and Men. He's a screenwriter, he's a film actor, he's a director, he's a producer, he's a comedian. He does all of those things extremely well. He is hilarious, and he is a great friend. And Torry, I'm so happy to see you again, my friend. It's always great to bump into you. What a sweet surprise when we bumped into one another a few months ago after probably 25 or 26 years, and it's always good to see you. We were talking off camera, and I want to reiterate a little bit of our conversation. You were talking about how social media has just really almost become just as popular, if not more popular, than digital TV, and what casting directors are looking for when it comes to budding actors. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, I'll tell you. Well, the movie we just did, The Matchbreaker, starred Christina Grimmie, who started her career before she went on The Voice, singing on YouTube videos. It also stars Olin Rogers, who is a huge YouTube star, high social media following, and Shauna Housen, huge social media star. They all started off on YouTube and doing their own thing and created so many followers that the movie people started looking at social media differently, saying, hey, that is our platform. They are bringing a live audience to this. So now films are looking for people with a high social media following. You can start off acting just by doing some fun YouTube videos if you're good at it that go viral, and then that gives you a platform. There's a 4-page article in this month's Vanity Fair about how social media is changing the landscape when it comes to casting. So even Gary Wheeler from the Up Network, when he was talking to me, said, you know, you're a really talented actor. There was another person who has a higher social media following. If they were up against you, they would pick that person over you, even if you're the better actor, because they're bringing 2 million followers who they're hoping will follow them to the movie.
Yeah.
So,
well, social
yeah.
media has changed the landscape in so many areas. I mean, in Christian music, in the music industry, in the publishing industry, it's created a whole new world.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's crazy, but it's also cool because it gives that person who is not necessarily on a label or that person who is not necessarily on a publishing platform a whole new possibility to reach the masses, millions of people, without necessarily being on that label or being on that publishing roster, and going straight to the marketplace. So that's a really cool thing.
And to get seen by all the players in the industry who you might not have an opportunity to get in front of any other way.
Yeah, that's cool. So talk to me about how you got started. What was your big break?
It was Christian artists. That was my big break. You know, so many people get discovered there. Mark Lowry started out there, Point of Grace,
Babbie Mason.
That was where I started out. That was my big break.
Yeah, for those of you that may not be familiar with the Christian Artist Music Seminar in the Rockies, it was started by Cam Floria, who founded the Continentals and the Continental Orchestra, which really big on the West Coast, but they traveled all throughout the United States and internationally as well. Well, Cam used to host the Christian Artist Music Seminar in the Rocky Mountains in Estes Park, and they had competitions and singing and songwriting and
it's
acting.
so beautiful. Remember, they even had dancing in Estes Park.
Oh, yeah.
Remember how high that elevation was?
And I never could figure that out. Why in the world they would have a singing competition, a dancing competition, an acting competition
have those
in a place where you couldn't even breathe?
Oxygen tanks at either end of the stage. They dance and then they
and be over there huffing oxygen.
Oh, it's crazy.
It was crazy.
But beautiful.
But yes, it was. It was gorgeous. Estes is still there's a huge part of my heart that is still in Estes because we went for so many years, probably 25 or 26 years, you know, since the mid '80s, and you competed.
Did.
And won 1 year for maybe a couple of years.
Won Best Acting 1986 and Best Writer 1987.
And I won 1 year in third place in the vocal competition, and then the following year, the first place, All Rise, won the first place song, and then I also won first place in my age category in singing.
Which do you enjoy more, writing or singing?
It depends on the day, because for different reasons, I love songwriting because it's to me it's just an intimate connection with me and the Lord. Plus, I love songwriting because of its perpetuity. I mean, songs that I write will be here
For generations.
long after I'm gone.
Yeah.
And singing as well, but there's a real connection with writing. But singing is my voice. The fact that I get to use my voice to sing and to bless people through my voice is really an eternal connection. So I love them both.
When you're writing, do you think of a catch? You're like, oh, this would be good? Or does it come from a passion or something that's going on with you? You're like,
all of that.
I'm having a reaction and I want to put this on paper.
All of that. I can be inspired by anything. And you as a writer, you know this. Anything could trigger an inspiration. I could be listening to a TV commercial and it'll spawn an idea. I could go past a church marquee and it will give me an inspiration for a song. I could see something on the cover of your book, a phrase or a word that will jumpstart, motivate an idea.
And it comes to you that fast?
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, it's kind of like a pump. You know this. Writing is like a pump. At first, it might be a little difficult to get it primed, but once you prime that pump and the water, the gift starts to flow, it wakes you up in the middle of the night. You can't shut it off.
That's true, the creative thing. But I'll tell you, when it comes to the writing, I hate writing.
Is that right?
I hate the starting of it. When you're looking at the blank screen, that's the hardest part. But once you're in the flow, once it's going, then you're like, everybody leave me alone. I can't be disturbed from this.
Do you, when you get ideas that you may not be working on right now, but do you stockpile ideas? Do you write things down?
Babbie, you know, I lived in that remote cabin, had to hike a 200-yard trail to get there. No television, no radio. All I did was write.
Wow.
And and brainstorm ideas. I've got notebooks and notebooks, and I use my little voice recorder on my iPhone,
Yes.
the note thing, and I'm like, oh, blah, 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 blah,
Yes.
and it's always when I'm driving, when I'm doing or washing dishes, some mindless activity
Yes,
that you're
cleaning
doing
house,
something that opens
washing
the brain for
dishes,
something to
and your
drop
mind is at
in.
rest.
Yeah.
When you're in the car driving, turn off your radio, turn off your phone,
Yeah,
or at least
do you listen to the radio when you drive?
sometimes.
I don't.
Sometimes I do. If I feel like I want to write or I have an idea, I'll shut everything down. But sometimes I like the entertainment.
Wow.
I listen to old Motown.
Oh, my goodness.
I listen to sermons. I go to school in my car. You know.
See, I listen to a lot of audiobooks. Have you ever heard or read David Team's book, Tyndale?
I love David Teams. He's
Do you know
He's
David
one of my
Teams?
dearest friends. He
Are
lives,
you
he lives
kidding
right here in Atlanta.
I love him.
Yeah, he's been I knew David Teams before he was David Teams.
I was a fan of him. I've listened
David
to
and
that. Yes.
Absolutely.
I've got Tyndale 32 times. I've listened to the whole audiobook. It's in my car right now. So good.
Yes,
and
he's
I just
a
got
wonderful writer. I love his voice.
I met him in Nashville, and we became friends. And I just got invited 2 days ago to go to a special retreat with just 9 people with Bob Hostetler and David Teams. I'm so excited.
Awesome. Listen, I wish we could talk more, my friend.
Me too.
So happy to have you on today.
Thank you.
But we got to end the show.
Okay.
Man, all good things must come to an end, but we'll do it again. How can we find you on the internet, by the way?
Well, you can go to TorryMartin.com or just look me up on Facebook, Twitter,
yeah,
or
just
Instagram.
Google Torry
Yeah.
Martin, and he will definitely will come up. Happy to have you on the show, my friend.
Thank you so much.
And happy to have you as my very special guest, my dear friend. Thanks for watching Babbie's House today. I hope you were just encouraged to laugh and think about your ideas and how you can generate something for the internet to encourage people, a song, a poem, a video, something that will lift up the name of Jesus today. Well, God bless you, and thanks for joining me. Hey, reach out to me at Babbie.com. All right, I love you. I'll see you the next time. Bye-bye for now.